Thank you very much. First things first, welcome to ninth grade parent night. This is a night that we have designed that we like to do on a yearly basis where we get the opportunity to connect with the parents of our incoming freshmen to kind of give you some of the fine details that'll help you transition your freshman student to Governor Livingston High School and just share a lot of the great things that everybody can know before starting the first day. Traditionally, we would do this during the second week of school, but then going back a couple of years ago, we thought that it might be better to do this before the first day of school actually starts, so this way students are as prepared as possible. So first things first, by way of introduction, I am Robert Nixon. I am the principal of Governor Livingston High School, and with us tonight we have members of our administrative team that I'll ask to introduce themselves now.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jackie Bartlett. I'm one of the assistant principals at Governor Livingston High School. I work mainly with the junior and senior students, but I am always available for freshmen as well.
Okay, Mrs. Donardi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Donardi. I'm here this year for Tara Oliveira. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. I'm coming to you from my kitchen. I'm looking forward to meeting your children this year. As a mother myself, I feel very invested in the kids, and I'm here for you. So please know I have an open door of communication, maybe not necessarily an open door, but you're welcome to call me or email me at any time. Looking forward to working with you this year.
Great, thanks. And we have Dr. Janosko with us as well.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ashley Janosko. I'm looking forward to see all of your faces, and you see ours maybe tonight. I am the Director of School Counseling for K-12, as well as the Supervisor of the Nurses.
Okay, so we have a great group of people here with you this evening that's going to help share a lot of different information. And as we get going through our evening, we're going to share a lot of different things. We wanted to first start off with some reminders. And you'll see on the school calendar that back to school night is September 22nd. We will be putting together some information about exactly what that's going to be like this year. Obviously, with everything that's going on, it won't be our traditional back to school night where our building is open and people are able to come in and meet the teachers face to face. But we're working through using the technology we have available to us and trying to find some ways to make that a beneficial evening for everybody. I also like to, at this point, let everybody know that we have a lot of great parent organizations that we work with up at Governor Livingston High School. It includes, but certainly isn't limited to, our GLPTO, the Highlander Booster Club that supports athletics, our band parents that work with the marching band, or even a part of the GLPTO, which is Project Graduation. We are very, very fortunate in our community that we have amazing parental support. And the great part about it is year after year, as a group of parents graduate with their students, we always have a fresh group of parents ready to step in and accept the challenge to help continuing to support our teachers, students, and overall school community. So if you are familiar with Governor Livingston High School, perhaps you've had older children come through already, perhaps you've been involved, or perhaps you've seen what these organizations do and you'll consider becoming involved yourself. Or perhaps if you're new to the school and you find out what your students' interests are, you might consider being part of one of those organizations as well. We really, really do appreciate it. A little shout out to our PTO starting tomorrow, Thursday, as students enter on school on Thursday and Friday. They have donated Governor Livingston masks for each student to have. So we certainly thank them for that. And a final shout out, we want to recognize our freshman leadership team, formerly known as the Link Crew up at the high school. They did a great job for us this year, and they worked really hard to go above and beyond this year under very challenging circumstances to hold a virtual orientation, conduct in-person tours, and also make a virtual tour of the school. So I want to thank them as well as their advisors, Mrs. Cavanaugh and Mr. Yeager, for all of their hard work, and Mrs. Bartlett, who worked directly with them to help organize those things. So as far as our agenda for this evening, we're going to go into a couple parts here. The first part is we're going to go through a few slides where we're going to share some really important information with you. The technology information that you're going to need to know as a parent, as well as an introduction to our counseling department by Dr. Janasco. Then we're going to share a couple of details which are a little bit different this year that are specifically related to September 3rd, September 4th, and then remote learning as we move forward, because we know that'll be a very different experience for many people. And then finally, we're going to end our session here with a Kahoot activity, which allows us to have a little bit of fun, but also be interactive and share some really valuable information with parents. So we're excited to be able to do that with you. Okay, so at that time, we're going to move on to introducing some of our technology, and Mrs. Bartlett's going to get started.
Hi again, everyone. So we are introducing you to some of the technology, which are different ways that we communicate with parents and with our community. And the most public way that we do that is through our district website. So you see it's there at bhpsnj.org. That will take you to our district site, and then from there you can click our schools, as you see in the picture, and navigate your way to Governor Livingston High School. Once you get there, it will obviously take you to the building's website. Our website is also known as SchoolWires, so sometimes you'll hear it referred to as that. And that's where we'll post the current information about our school, from resources, upcoming events, alerts to parents, so on and so forth. Also, there's always some really great pictures of what's going on in the building on our school page, and those are always really cool to check out. At the district level, you'll see our published curriculum guides for each of the courses. You'll see the policy book, that's from the Board of Education. But at the building level, you'll see our student handbook. The most up-to-date version is always what's posted on our website in the electronic version. You can also navigate to teacher web pages from our building site, and you can see the list of various announcements and upcoming events. The teacher web pages will have the teacher's syllabus and also their availability for extra help. So that's a really good resource, especially for parents, to see what's going on in their students' classes. Now, also through SchoolWires, you can register for alerts. So every time something new is posted, a new event, or some new information, you can do this by creating your own account. To create your account, up at that very top blue bar, and you can see it pictured, there is a button to click register. And once you click that, it will prompt you to create an account, and then it will give you a place to type in your information. It looks like this, of where you want those alerts sent. So you can see that they can be text messages. As you see on the screen here, you can add a number there. So every time something is updated on our website or SchoolWires, you'd be able to see that information.
Okay, also a very important piece of information that we'd like to draw parents' attention to is to be able to access the parent portal in PowerSchool. So if you go ahead and you go to the GLHS webpage, and you see this little A+ symbol that's in the top right-hand corner there. That'll allow the parents to get to the login page, and from there they can see a lot of different information and customized things. We really think that this is something that's important for parents to access, because parents can easily navigate through their child's grades, their child's attendance, and keep track of all of those things. One of the important things to keep in mind on the high school level is, your high school transcript starts right away at your freshman year. So grades that you get throughout the school year are important. So it's important to monitor that for your children. But also another thing to keep in mind is that attendance is factored into credits as well. And if a child has an excessive amount of tardies, which is all in our handbook that you can read up on, an excessive amount of tardies could cause a child to lose credit as well. So it's very, very important as a parent to go ahead and be able to monitor how your child is doing. Once you get into PowerSchool, you can set up a lot of different things, which will include different reports that you can have sent to yourself that kind of make it easier than going in and just looking. You could have them sent to your email in various easy ways such as that. Mrs. Bartlett?
All right. So other technology information, this is for students, but it's important for parents to have a bit of information on what the students are using their iPads and and the types of security on their iPads as well. So instead of using a blacklist, meaning there are certain apps that students cannot download onto their iPads, what we have done instead is whitelist apps, meaning that there's a list of apps that students are allowed to have on their iPad. Sometimes these are pushed out by the tech department, and those are ones that are used by multiple classes. But each year, every few months, teachers are able to add apps to that whitelist, and we're constantly updating it so that all of the tools that students may need for school on their iPad are always available to them, but things that can be distracting are not on the student's iPad. The thing that they'll be working with most often is the Google platform, including Gmail, Google Drive, and Google Classroom. So those will be the 3 apps that are most often open and being used on your student's iPad. Now, there are many opportunities to get tech help if the student faces any issues with their iPads. The easiest way is through the documents and videos that are posted on our school website. So there's a whole link for resources for students that have really well-made videos that they can access to learn about how to do Zoom or how to use Google Classroom or Google Drive. They can also email for iPad help. You can see the web address there. And during remote instruction, we have a live helpline that is manned by someone in our tech department during school hours. And that phone number is available on that same website in the resources for students, and also has been sent out through all of the information about remote learning.
There's another place that we'd like to draw your attention to related to our website. And if you look at the Governor Livingston High School website, you see there's one of the tabs at the top is called School Info, and under that is a section called News for GL Parents. This is where you can get a lot of the other general information, but also stay up to date on daily announcements. For example, whatever is announced in school during the day for the students as far as daily announcements is always posted right here. You'll see other information included, items such as e-bulletin. That is a snapshot of the next 2 weeks that we post every week, so you can know when clubs are meeting and what night events might be going on, if you don't have direct access to the school calendar. You can find the daily athletics schedule, information about the yearbook, and a ton of other resources there. If we ever have general information that we want to post for parents, that's a section where you can find more about that. And then also what's important is School Messenger. School Messenger is how I think many of you may have been able to get the link for this evening's presentation when we had to change it last minute. So hopefully that's good. This School Messenger has taken over for what used to be Honeywell. And School Messenger pulls the information directly from PowerSchool. So it's very important to know that the information that you have up to date in PowerSchool is accurate. So you should make sure that your contact info is correct by completing all of the requested information verification updates prior to the start of the school year. I believe some of that information is due by September 4th, but there are other ways that you can help to update some of your information, such as contacting the main office at the high school directly with any changes once the school year gets going. You want to make sure that your email address is correct, that your phone number is correct. If we have any emergency closings and different things like that, this is how you will be notified. We'll also be sharing a lot of other things through this as well, though, which is how we share out a lot of the emails that you've gotten from me regarding, our plans to start the school year, or even the letter for tonight's presentation, were all sent via School Messenger. So now, to go over a little bit about our counseling department, I'd like to invite in Dr. Janoska.
Hello again. All right, so in terms of the GL counseling department, just so that you are all aware, if in fact this is your first child coming to the high school, you are assigned a counselor, which you'll find at the top of your child's schedule. It's their last name, and you will be with that counselor throughout the course of the next 4 years. So it's really important to get to know your counselor because this is the individual that is going to be with you, that's going to talk to you about all of your plans for the following years, as well as any college career plans, post-secondary plans. And it's really important that Mr. Nixon had mentioned that your transcript starts freshman year. So what you do freshman year, it counts so much. Freshman year begins your GPA. So it's the foundation of your child's GPA. It's also a really good opportunity to start exploring different clubs and activities. Just as much as you find out what you like is just as important as finding out what you don't like. And really it's important to get involved. So therefore, by the time your junior or senior year, can be moving up into leadership positions within your clubs, activities, athletics, as well as taking rigorous classes. Making sure that you attend various night events is really important. So it's not necessarily what you do just freshman year. It's what you start to build on freshman year that impacts your class trajectory for sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, and how you start to really know what your end goal is by attending these various night events. So unfortunately, we're not able to host a college fair this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there are college admissions counselors that will be meeting with our students, so GL students, virtually throughout the course of the school day. And these are admissions counselors that review our students' applications for college. It's really important that if you are a freshman, so encourage your students, if you have time, if it's during a lunch or maybe an elective or a study hall period, if you can just jump in and just kind of hear what the different messages of the college admissions counselors are looking for. They're talking about rigor. They're talking about, demonstration of a positive transcript. So really doing well freshman year, and then that adds on to sophomore year and junior year. As a parent, attend sophomore college night. That's not going to be again till January, but it's important for you to kind of see what the next step is, or where to make sure that you feel like you're in the know and you're on the same page. And especially if this is your time going through it for the first time, it's very helpful to ensure that you feel like you are on track with your child. In terms of getting to know your counselor, these individuals will talk with you every year to talk about your schedule. And it's not just about making a schedule of classes. It's really about what you're interested in and taking electives that help you expand your skills, maybe learn a new craft or a new trade, as well as make some areas expert areas. So that happens through academic classes and through elective classes. And those conversations happen individually with the counselors every single year. In addition, they're ultimately the individuals that you want to know you extremely well, because they will write your recommendation letter for college or for whatever a recommendation is for post-secondary. So how you can meet with them. For now, because we're virtual, everything's going to be virtual. So for the most part, you will see them. They will all have Google Classroom. So if you haven't been welcomed into a Google Classroom yet as a student, they will be welcomed in by the first or second day of school. And that's where they will get notifications, information about anything that's related to academic counseling, social, emotional, career, college, anything of that nature that's freshman appropriate. They will be shared out through the Google Classroom. In addition, all of your children will be met with by their counselor in a small group throughout the course of September and/or October, just to touch base, put a face with a name, talk a little bit about transition and what it's been like. So going remote, finishing out 8th grade, and then having a summer, and then coming back to a different format, just checking in and seeing if there's any follow-ups necessary. How we encourage the students really to be the advocates. So for instance, if there was an error in a child's schedule, the students were asked to submit a Google form. Again, it's the students that we want to hear from. So even if you are kind of glancing over them and helping them to come up with an email to send to the counselors really want to hear the students advocating for themselves. So sending emails, setting up sessions through Zoom or phone. And certainly if in fact it's necessary to meet in person, that's something that could be arranged in a bigger setting. The way our department is set up, the counselor's office is just not quite big enough for that social distance. So if you shift onto the next slide, you'll see that this is the list of the different counselors and how the breakdown is. So like I said, it's alphabetically. This information is also shared with all of you. So in the event that you would need to contact one of the counselors, this is the information and it's on the website. We also have Mr. Seeger. He's our student assistance counselor. He will be sharing information as well out to students and parents about anything that's counseling related, as well as meeting with students and going over our drug and alcohol policy.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Dr. Janasco. I appreciate that. So just to answer a question that's coming up here as we go through, yes, we will be leaving time at the end for questions and answers. I see a lot of people have found the Q&A tab already and have posted their questions in there. That's a perfect way to do that. If you would like to throw your questions in there, we'll do the best we can to answer some of those questions once we get to the end of our presentation this evening. So thank you for that. Okay, so I promised a couple reminders and a couple basics for people to keep in mind as we go through the first days of school. All right, so first things first, we're going to be having 2 single session days to start our school year that are in person. First on Thursday, the 3rd, cohort A, which is last names A through L, will attend in person. All other students will be expected to attend remotely. Teachers will be reaching out to their students to let them know exactly how they can connect remotely to the individual teacher classes with all the various codes. Then on the 4th, cohort B, which is last names M through Z, will attend in person, and all of our remote students, along with cohort A, will attend remotely on that day. Some things to keep in mind is that when in the building, everybody must wear masks, and prior to attending school for the day, the student health survey in Power School must be completed. It's important that that is completed prior to 7:40 a.m. each day, so that you know what happens on our school level at 7:40 each day. That student health survey will be, the report will be run by an administrator in Power School, and then the names of students who have completed the student health survey will be distributed to teachers in the building. First block teachers will be asked to ensure that every student that's in their room has in fact completed the student health survey and that none of their answers were yes. In the event that the student health survey was not completed, or if one of the answers were yes, those students will then be sent down to the nurse's office where Nurse Ringwood, along with one of our administrative assistants, will be helping to screen each student prior to sending them back to class. So we ask for your cooperation in this, and please help to ensure that that survey is completed prior to attending school. One of the questions that was asked that I noticed in the Q&A was about where students should report when they get to school on those days. We have designated areas, which includes the cafeteria, the IMC, both the red and blue gyms. We have staff supervision in both of those areas and all of those areas. And those areas are also set up for proper social distancing as well. Students are welcome to attend any of those areas. There's no area that's designated specifically for a given grade level. But that said, we ask that none of the students move any of the chairs or tables or any of the items in those spaces as they are set up for appropriate social distancing. We did want to speak a little bit about remote expectations, and all of this information that we're talking about here and reinforcing was shared in the email communications that we sent home on both the 24th and the 28th of August. So if anything here was unclear, or maybe you missed something that I said, please go back and reference both of those communications. They're filled with a bunch of links and a lot of good information, which includes maps, which is another piece of information that was asked in one of the questions in the Q&A section here. There is a map with arrows that's for our various hallways, but as well as our stairwells. Now, in terms of remote expectations, one of the things that we're doing different this year that we think is very important is that we will be following a full day schedule with our traditional rotate and drop schedule at the high school. Teachers are well aware of the challenge that being on Zoom conferences for perhaps 6 hours straight would pose to students. So to that end, they will be designing their lessons in a way that allows students to be connecting with the teachers face-to-face via Zoom conferencing, but also creates the opportunities to get away from their computers for a little bit and do other work before getting back together. Important thing to note is that attendance will be taken live within that Zoom session as it would if the student was in class. Therefore, at the start of every class period, we expect all students are logged into their sessions and on time. If the student's late, the teacher will mark the student late unless, of course, there's a good reason that the teacher and the student discuss, and the teacher uses their discretion at that point. Again, remember, it is very important that student attendance is followed. One of the other things that we want to make sure that we reinforce is student engagement through remote learning. We hope that remote learning will not be a permanent part of our school year. We hope that this will be a shorter, more temporary situation, but it's very important that students stay engaged, and if students have struggles, that they reach out to their counselor or reach out to their teachers, to try and make sure that they can get that support that they need. And finally, if there is technology issues that are preventing students from connecting to their teachers' classrooms, that you follow the technological resources that we have outlined in those communications as well, and try and get the problem resolved so that students can stay connected with their classes and have an effective learning experience. Mrs. Bartlett.
Thank you. So our last slide here is how, as a parent, you can help your student during remote learning. There's a long list here, as you can see on the slide, but I just want to highlight a few of them. The second one being very important in assisting your student in setting up a space for them to participate in remote learning. A space that's free from distractions, but also has all of the necessary supplies that they'll need, everything from an outlet to charge their device, but also posting a printed copy of things like the school's bell schedule to help them stay on time, the rotation calendar, and just the general school calendar so they are aware of what classes are meeting each day. That would be most helpful to the students. And the second thing that's important on this list is really encouraging your student to self-advocate. If they have any questions for a specific teacher, having them reach out to that teacher via email, setting up a Zoom meeting for extra help with that teacher are all things that students can do. Of course, if it's not related to a specific class, they can reach out to their guidance counselor, they can reach out to an administrator, everyone is here, to help and support students. So encouraging them to use that help is an important role as a parent. And then finally on this list, another one I'd like to highlight is notifying the school if your student is going to be absent from remote classes is important. It will help us ensure that students are engaging in their Zoom classes, and will also help ensure that we know that a student isn't experiencing a tech issue that we can help fix. We know that they are absent for the day. And you do that by contacting the school through the information that we posted in the student handbook. There's a phone number there to contact the school in order to report that absence. I think that was one of our questions in the Q&A.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Bartlett. So at that point there, we're gonna invite everybody to take part in our interactive activity, which is going to be a Kahoot session. So what we'll need everybody to do is please take out a device. It could be your cell phone, but something other than what you're using to view this meeting. A cell phone and iPad, either of those work very well. You can go to kahoot.it, and then from that point there, you enter the game pin. Mrs. Bartlett, can you share the game pin?
Yes, I just have to stop screen sharing and switch over to another screen. Again, it's kahoot.it if you're playing along, and you'll get to a screen that looks like the picture on the side there. I'm gonna switch over.
Okay, so everybody can see there that the game pin, just enter 3630722. Now to add a little incentive, Mrs. Bartlett, did you write this down? But I took this quiz myself today, and scored, just to give everybody a little incentive of try and beat the principal. And if you beat the principal, you can come up and run the high school for a day. We'll work out those details. Mrs. Bartlett, what was the score that I got this afternoon?
It was 9,864.
Now, I do want to put a caveat to that. Obviously, I know what all the answers are, but it was taking us a little bit of time sometimes to answer them because we had to read through the questions and make sure everything still applied to what our current situation is this year. So I will give myself a little bit of a pass, but that also makes it a very attainable score for each of you to try and achieve. Now, that said, parents that have had students come through GL before, I saw some familiar names within our participant list here, may have a little extra advantage. But nonetheless, this is a great opportunity to just kind of learn a little bit more. These are some of the ins and outs, the daily things about how we eat, where we eat, how does, different things about lockers and so on and so forth. So we'll be talking through some of that information. And this was a great way we found to share information a couple of years back when we had the opportunity to go attend a professional development session at Google headquarters in New York City. They found a way to explain what the privacy policy for using Google was. Which is not a very fun thing to sit through and listen to for an hour, unless, of course, you make it an interactive conversation such as this. So I see that we have about 150 players in so far. That looks great. Maybe some others don't necessarily want to participate, but that said, if you are interested in participating, you can jump in and join anytime, or you can just feel free to listen along at home. Okay, so Mrs. Bartlett, do you want to talk them through exactly how this is going to start? Maybe give them that practice question.
Of course. So once I click this start button, you'll see our first question, which is just a practice question for fun. I will always read the question, and on the screen you will see the 4 options. There are multiple choice questions. And on the device that you're using, you will see those same colors for the 4 options appear, and you'll click the color of the answer that you think is correct. So I'm going to go ahead. We seem to have a slowdown in people joining, so I'm going to click start. So our practice question, what is the name of the GL mascot? And the answers are flying in.
In case you've never played this before, the quicker you answer the question correctly, the more points you get. One thing we do like to share with people, it's been noted before that nobody has ever seen the Highlander mascot and Mr. McKinney in the same place at the same time. I don't know what that means. But those of you who know Mr. McKinney is our current assistant superintendent of schools, and he is the former GL high school principal.
So many of you, 73, got the correct answer of Hank the Highlander. So hopefully we've gotten a hang of how the game plays. We will stop after each question just to explain a little bit further. Mr. Dixon, are we ready?
We are ready. Let's do this.
Awesome. So here's our scoreboard so far. And our next question, which of the following is true of our attendance policy? All right, so very nice. 54 of our participants chose the correct answer of excessive absences could result in the loss of credit for a course. Mr. Nixon, would you like to talk more about this one?
Sure. Absences and tardies are handled somewhat differently, and an important thing to be aware of is excessive tardies lead to what would be considered as a disciplinary action. For example, 5 tardies to school could lead to a lunch detention, so on and so forth. Now, without school being actually in person, at least for the first month of school, some of these things may not come into play right away in terms of tardiness and discipline and things like that. But it's important to note that what the attendance requirements are. We encourage you to check that out in the student handbook. Okay, Mrs. Bartlett.
Okay. Our third question, what are some reasons a freshman may visit their counselor? So a little bit of a trick question there. All of the above was the correct response. Dr. Danasco, would you like to speak about this one?
Absolutely. Good job, everybody. It is a little bit of a trick question. So just quickly, there's a misconception from students and parents sometimes that the students feel as though if they speak with the counselor about anything, that this information is going directly to the colleges. That is completely not the case at all. We want our students to feel comfortable coming to talk to our counselors about stresses, concerns, positive things, schedules, a little bit of everything. So, and that information remains confidential. So they encourage them to stop by and visit.
Thank you. Scoreboard changing there. And question 4, what resources are available for students looking to get involved?
This was one of the questions that we saw that was posed by somebody within the Q&A, wondering how might clubs and activities look as we get started within the school year. And you can see by this answer here, all of the above is an acceptable answer. Club Expo will be done this year. It will be done virtually. What will happen is every organization will have a link to their own Zoom session, and students who want to learn more about the different clubs and activities can kind of pop in and out each of those different sessions, get to meet some of the members and learn a little bit more. But we also encourage incoming freshmen to connect with their peer leaders, or if they have an interest in something that they don't quite see, there's always opportunities to create your own clubs at GL. We do anticipate these clubs running remotely, especially with our full day schedule. A lot of clubs and activities attend their sessions during student lunch. So we anticipate that there will be a lot of breakout sessions, and we already know our club advisors are working hard with the student leaders within their various organizations at this time to try and plan meaningful activities that they can engage in, not only when they come back to school in person, but also while they remain virtual. Okay, Mrs. Bartlett, next.
Okay, and that Club Expo will be on September 24th, so you can tell your freshman student to be on the lookout for an email about that.
August 24th, right? August 24th. September, right? September.
September, yes.
My brain not working. I apologize. It's been busy.
Right. How can a parent support their student as they transition to high school? There's a little slow start to the answers there, but now they're flying in.
Longer answers to read. These are the ones that get you.
Yep. Very nice. So accessing PowerSchool communications from School Messenger. So both things that we touched upon during the earlier presentation about keeping the PowerSchool information up to date and how you can set up those alerts from PowerSchool to send you information via email. We have JT in the lead. And question 6, what technological resources are available to students? Very nice. So again, the Google tools, like we said, it was something that you'll see students using the most often on their iPads. And we can see that the blacklisted apps didn't trick very many people up. We do whitelist apps so that students can only download or have on their iPads a selected list of apps. So very nice job.
Mrs. Bartlett, you want me to give you a break on the next one here and jump in and read a question for you?
Sure, that sounds great. Thank you. Here it comes.
Okay, question 7, more than halfway. How can a student receive extra help in a class? If you see how closely everybody paid attention. Great job. We see the majority of people correctly said, see a National Honor Society tutor, but that's only one of the many ways that we provide extra support and help for students. National Honor Society tutors will be providing tutoring opportunities to students virtually this year to start. And they will be advertising a schedule of when they are available and exactly how students can connect. But like we mentioned earlier, we also encourage students to connect with their teacher and find out when each teacher individually offers extra help time that maybe they can answer questions or give you a little bit of one-on-one time to kind of help you through something perhaps you didn't understand in class.
All right, here comes the scoreboard, and we'll get to our next question. So question 8, when and how can a student make an appointment to meet with a counselor? And you'll see in our image here is a picture of our counseling department.
Yeah, there. Dr. Janosko, who you've been hearing tonight, who you can't see, is all the way on the left in this picture. There she is. All right, Dr. Janosko, you want to talk to this a little bit?
Excellent. Good job, everybody. So it is all of the above. Again, a little bit shifted for at least this month, but students can send an email to the counselor to set up an appointment. They can communicate with either one of the office assistants to see if they can arrange something. They can meet small groups virtually via Zoom, and certainly come during the times when they're not missing any of their classes is ideal.
Great. Ooh, we are making a push, getting close to 7,000. I think my score might be in trouble. Here we go. Let's see. 9 of 12.
9, where does my student eat lunch? This is, of course, when we're in the building for in-person learning. All right. So 56 of us knew that it was in any designated eating location, of which we have 2. The red gym turns into a cafeteria during lunch, as well as our regular cafeteria on that first level. We do have an open lunch period where any student can visit a teacher during lunch after they've eaten, or they can visit our IMC, which is our library. It's also when a lot of our clubs and activities meet, so students are moving around the building, choosing where they would like to eat lunch, but also seeking help from teachers, meeting with their clubs, or choosing to get some work done in our library or IMC.
Something that's important to clarify here often is that freshman families believe that the red gym is the freshman cafeteria, and that's not necessarily the case. It tends to be year after year traditionally where freshmen gather together and eat lunch, as most groups tend to eat lunch with their friends. But know that freshman students are welcome to eat lunch in any of the designated eating locations. And again, we hope we get back to that situation soon.
Question 10. Will my student be able to access his or her locker? Wow, very nice. Mr. Nixon, would you like to speak about this one?
Yes, very nice job by everybody being on this. So typically students are given lockers their freshman year, and they maintain those lockers for all 4 years of high school. Due to the fact that each locker is about 8 inches apart this year, we're not going to be assigning lockers once we get to the point where we transition back into school. If we hopefully hit a point at some point over the course of the school year where we are officially back to school without restrictions, we will revisit assigning lockers to students at that time.
Whoa, many people getting close to your score, Mr. Nixon.
I see it.
Question 11. Can a student receive a detention for being late to school? Mr. Nixon kind of hinted at this question earlier in our game.
This question kind of insinuates that I could be grumpy from time to time. I don't know if that's the truth. Let's see how we did. Now, see, somebody thought it was because it was how my day was going. I appreciate that. But yes, the correct answer, as I alluded to before, it's after a certain amount. Now, are there certain? Is it these are unexcused to a certain degree. If somebody has a doctor's appointment and you notify the office and your child's going to be coming to school, after that doctor's appointment or something like that, obviously that's not something that would be held against students. In addition, you would have an assistant principal would be reaching out to families, letting them know that there is a concern about students' excessive tardiness. This is going to be really important once they get older in high school, because we have something that's called open campus, but also on-campus parking, and making sure that you have a clean attendance record is part of that. Okay, last question here, Mrs. Bartlett. How close are people getting?
Last chance to beat Mr. Nixon's score.
Drum roll, please. I'll read it. What final information would you like to discuss before parent night is over? And again, this is a reminder that you can answer the question here, but and you not have any idea of which the right answer is right now. But also, we see that there's 14 questions waiting in the Q&A. We will do our best to try and get through some of those questions in the last little bit of time that we have remaining here. But we hoped that through the course of this, we've provided you with a lot of information, a lot of the ins and outs about where students can go, what they can do, how they can get extra help, how they can connect with their counselor, because we understand that the start of a new school or the start of high school can be very challenging. I myself have my son who's starting middle school this year, so a lot of trying to understand exactly all the things that he has to do and support him is very important to me. So we are very aware of how important some of this information is for all of you. So with that in mind, Mrs. Bartlett, let's see who our winner was. Congratulations to Steve P. Great job, Steve P. Very, very close to the score of 9,864. We're very impressed. We hope this was a good way for everybody to have a little bit of fun. Oh, it wasn't Steve P. Steve P was third. My apologies. JAC was our winner, Mrs. Bartlett.
Wow. And they were very close to your score.
Great job. Okay, so moving forward, we have some questions in the Q&A, and we have some questions in the chat here as well. So just going through some of the things that are here in the chat, then we'll move over to Q&A. Freshman gym is held in the red gym traditionally, but other locations are used, such as the weight room and outdoors. When students report to the gyms on the first couple of days of school, they will learn a lot more about that information. There's another question here about the COVID survey in Power School. Dr. Janasco, do you want to speak to that quickly?
Not a problem. I'm just reading through it. And in terms of the screening?
Yeah. How do parents specifically find that?
So it's actually in the COVID-19 handbook manual that is posted. Actually, Mrs. Bartlett posted that booklet. It's in there. It's also found on Ms. Springwood's website.
Great, thanks. And then there was a question about maps, and maps. You can find a map of the direction. It has the whole building, but also the current directions for the hallways. It is linked within the email that was sent out on August 24th. Okay, so going through some of the other questions that are within the Q&A. Let's see if I get to here. Some of the things that I'm seeing as I look through is I can see, it says, who exactly updates Power School information? Power School information is pulled from the system upload of what used to be formerly InfoSnap. And everything will get pulled up from there, be brought into Power School. But we encourage everybody to log into their Power School account and take a look and see and make sure that that information is correct. I've had a couple parents reach out to us this week already and say that perhaps the emails weren't correct or they had changed the phone number or something like that. So we're happy to help navigate that as well. There's a question in here about how attendance will be handled. I spoke to that a little bit before. Attendance will be handled through in-person sessions by the teachers, seeing the students and communicating with the students in the particular class session, and then marking it on a class-by-class basis in Power School. Information regarding sports will be continued to be shared out by our athletic department. we would suggest perhaps reaching out to Ms. Clifton in athletics, email her with specific questions such as that. The NJSA has put out some very specific regulations for sports that we are following as a school, and at this time, most fall sports are beginning, except for volleyball, which is an indoor sport that will have a later session in the year, somewhere between February and March. In terms of any back to school supplies, high school is a little bit of a different animal than some of the elementaries and middle school. Supplies that a student might need for high school, would definitely be a backpack for when we're back in place. But other than that, it's whatever the student feels like they might need to support their learning. Individual teachers might share that they want kids to have maybe a journal or something like that. But in general, we give the students the iPad, and some students feel comfortable taking notes through using their device. Others feel more comfortable writing in a notebook. I know that's what I feel more comfortable with. So we encourage students to just kind of make sure they customize supplies with something that they need. There is a question about buses as well. Yes, buses will be running on the first 2 days of school, making sure that it's available for the students that are within the cohort. If you have not heard specific information or gotten the specific email regarding busing from our district transportation department, we recommend you reach out to Kelly Sheehan, who is our coordinator of transportation for the district. Again, you could probably go to the district website and find information about how you can contact her. Looking through, seeing what else we have in here. There are some questions that are coming through. There's a question here about the drama club and if it will be running in the fall. We don't have every answer just yet. We are hopeful that it can. We are looking through some options and discussing if there's an opportunity to have perhaps an outdoor performance, or perhaps have a performance that we can perform live, but while following proper social distancing protocols, and perhaps broadcast for people to watch remotely. The concern with that is there are certain copyright infringements from time to time that we would run in there. So we are exploring that, and we're hoping that that's going to be the case. We're seeing a question if someone's son can use a laptop instead of the iPad. We really need everybody to be on the iPads only. For security reasons, we cannot be attaching any outside devices to our district network. So if there's questions specific to a student's learning in regard to that, we recommend perhaps reaching out to a case manager, or perhaps a guidance counselor or the tech department individually. But at this time, only district issued devices can be connected to our network. In terms of hands-on electives and how they might be handled, every teacher has been working hard all summer long to try and create meaningful activities, and what they're going to be doing on those 2 days of school is sharing with students specifically what they need to do, and what supplies they need to have in order to be conducting some of these electives. Obviously, some are easier than others. Some people, with the idea that we are evaluating our situation on a month-to-month basis, and we're hopeful to get back in, we'll be changing the order of the curriculum in their electives and seeing about what can be addressed first while we are remotely, and then before we transition back in and pick up some of the more hands-on portions of it.
Mr. Nixon, can I jump in?
Yes, please.
Hi, it's Ashley Janosko. I'm also just reading a couple of responses and see if I can help with some answers as well. In terms of, there's a question about VOTEC. So in the event that your child is going to VOTEC, that will be indicated AM or PM for the 3 blocks on your child's schedule. You should have, again, heard from Kelly Sheehan, who's in charge of transportation, in terms of how that's going to work. So if you haven't, I also sent her a follow-up email just to see if, in fact, this information has been communicated on how transportation is going to be working. We will be handling transportation to and from VOTEC, so that shouldn't be an issue. In terms of the medical screening process, unfortunately, we tried to put the health screening, which is found in the health screening for students. If you go into your students portal, it's underneath forms. It's the only form at this time that's accessible to students. That's where you'll find it. You will only need to fill that out for your child that's coming in on that school day. So when they're remote from home, which inevitably is after Friday for at least a few weeks, you do not have to complete that form. I think I saw another, in terms of the app, we tried to put it on the app because inevitably that sounds like much easier for students and staff. Unfortunately, it's not possible at this time. I believe this app was created through Power School, and they've been working through it because although it's kind of new. So that's something that we will continue to look into, but at this time it's not an option. I think that's all I got so far.
Good. All right. I have we have time for just a couple more here, and I'm trying to see some of the ones that may be broader. One of the questions here, there was a question about whether children would be in the classroom setting on the first in-person day, and are the gyms, cafeteria, and theater where they should expect to take part in the day one intro. There is no general day one intro. Students will report to their first period class, their first block class, when they get into school. But what we have created is situations where, because of some cohorts or some classes with the cohort model are out of balance, and we don't want to create a situation that is unsafe. So we have identified some alternative locations where teachers can take a class that might have a large number of students in it on one of those first given days. But no, in general, people should expect to be in the classroom setting whenever possible on those days. There was a question about where the schedule, rotation, and calendar can be found. If you again look in the August 24th email that was sent out, there are a lot of different links and information in there, but we have the rotation calendar as well as the schedule for the bell schedule for the school day is located in there. It might be helpful thing to do for parents to perhaps have that printed out and have that available where their students can reference that when they're home on each day.
I'm back again. Is it okay if I jump in again? Okay,
Yes.
Question again about the health form. So if you go into your student schedule, another glitch that we tried, you have to actually fill that form out separately for each one of your students. So when you're on as a parent, you can see if you have more than one child, there's a tab that says each of your children's names. Unfortunately, you have to click on the tab for one student, go to form, submit the questionnaire. So take your child's temperature and then determine if in fact they have any of the symptoms or none of these symptoms, and then go back as well and do your next child. Again, it has to be done every single day that the student is coming into school. So you can do it individually for each student. In terms of electives, if you are interested in taking a class instead of a study hall, today and on Friday night, a Google form was sent out to all students and through School Messenger that if in fact you have a scheduling change that you would like to make to complete that form. The counselors are not in until September 3rd, and they are getting back to students with these types of requests. In terms of electives, oftentimes that's an easy answer of a yes. However, a lot of the classes at this time are full. So it's not an easy, it's not a quick answer of a yes. It's more of a conversation with the student and the counselor.
Great, thanks. And we have time to answer one more question before we have to log off at this time, but it's a good general question for everybody here. And the question was on the first 2 days, on 9-3 and 9-4, where the students should specifically enter the building. For security purposes, we made this change going back a couple years ago, and we're going to be following as we move forward here. All students should enter through the main entrance of the building. As I mentioned earlier, we did have a generous donation from our GLPTO. Students should be coming to school with their own masks, but we will be sharing masks with them as well that were donated. They will be individually wrapped so that they will not be touched by anybody but your child once they receive them. But again, all students should be entering school from the main entrance on the first day. So with that in mind, I want to thank all the members of the administrative team that joined us here tonight, Dr. Janosko, Mrs. Bartlett, Mrs. Donardi. We appreciate them taking the time and sharing a lot of great information to try and help support our freshman students as they transition into the high school. I know we gave a ton of information in just a little bit over an hour. We expect that there will still be some questions, but hopefully we did well in answering some of the common questions that we hear from year to year. If you have any questions moving forward, please feel free to reach out to your child's counselor. Feel free to reach out to the main office or contact one of the administrators. We'll do everything we can to help answer those questions and make sure your child's experience as they transition to Governor Livingston is the best it could possibly be. So to that end, we want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us tonight. We appreciate the flexibility considering the change of the link early on. And we want to wish you and your freshman students the best of luck at Governor Livingston. We're excited to have them, and we can't wait to get to know them a little bit better. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.